Hello everybody and welcome to the J72 Gaming channel. My name is Jacob, but you can just call me Jay here. Today I have another tier list for Tier List Thursday, and today we're going to celebrate the newly released game Prehistoric Kingdom, which released into early access. Now I've played this game a bit over the past year while it was in alpha and beta forms, but with its early access release they have 21 creatures available for your exhibits, with an extra 2 for micro exhibits as well. So I thought it'd be fun to simply judge them here in a tier list, while at the same time showing you all each creature in the game. Now let's also preface this with the fact that this list is going to be purely based off my love and interest of the creatures, and it will also take into consideration how well the model of the creature looks in game, but yeah, it's simply based off my personal opinions first and foremost. Alright everybody, if you're excited for this tier list, please like and subscribe to join the Sauropod squad. It really does help out the channel grow, so thank you genuinely from me for that. But without further ado, make sure you guys sit back, kick back, and go grab a snack as we get into the tier list for Prehistoric Kingdom's creatures. Enjoy. As with my previous tier lists, let's start with a B tier creature. And today we're going to start with the staple Ceratopsian Triceratops. It's nice to see the Ceratops that most people think of in this game, as some games with dinosaurs don't actually feature it. But what's not to love about the Triceratops, right? Personally, it's my favorite Ceratopsian, which might not go well for the rest of them on this list, but I'm gonna just have it here in B tier since there are quite a few more creatures in this game that I'm excited to see over it. B tier for the staple Triceratops. Moving up to A tier, it's a Dryosaurus. This theropod looks sweet, and I'm a big fan of the pattern on its skin. Now, in this game, we will get to change up the patterns, but this first one alone looks pretty sweet. The Torvo is a lesser featured theropod in most video games or movies when it comes to dinosaurs, so having it here definitely helps me rank it higher. I'd love to see it in games like Path of Titans or The Isle, honestly, but for Prehistoric Kingdom, it's going to sit up here as our first A tier. Let's dive down here to C tier, shall we? Let's grab two of the large herbivores this game has, Argentinosaurus and Dryosaurus. Now in my Path of Titans tier list, I placed these two side by side, and I'm going to do the same here. I like that these creatures are featured in this game, but honestly, they just fill the role of generic herbivore dinosaur for me. The other generic herbivore dinosaurs that we have are either a sauropod, which you might know I have an extra love for, or are one of the two that I specifically really enjoy, which we will get to in time. But yeah, for me, Argentinosaurus and Dryosaurus, they're just alright. I'm glad to see them in the game, but they're nothing super special. To continue filling out the tiers, let's get one of our two D tier creatures. It's the Brachiosaurus, if I said that right. Commonly referred to as a taco, this little guy is actually going to be the lowest spot here for this tier list. I've never really liked this dinosaur, and since it's just kind of a small prey creature, it's often overlooked or simply used as a meal for the larger, more interesting dinosaurs. Plus, if I'm honest, it looks really goofy and kind of just dumb. So it's gonna get a D tier today. Okay, time for an S tier, yeah? Let's grab the large and fluffy ancient elephant Mammoths. I'm a huge fan of these guys in the game, and they have been kind of the flagship creature for this game to display that it's more than just dinosaurs. And I think that really makes this game stand out compared to other park builders like Jurassic World Evolution. Not only that, but I think the model looks quite good. Definitely one of the better ones we have in the game. I'm excited to build a huge wandering expansive exhibit for these beasts, although I do hope and wish that they would add a little bit more snowy features for them, as personally I think they're kind of missing a key ingredient for the mammoth without it. Regardless, the mammoth is cool to see. S tier for sure. Next up, let's get a sauropod on the list. Let's look at the Argentinosaurus. Now, the Argent is simply awesome for being ridiculously massive, and I think it's a great sauropod option to put in the game. Generally speaking, Prehistoric Kingdom has added most of the creatures you would expect in a dinosaur game. Tyrannosaurus Rex, Brachiosaurus, Triceratops, etc. So it's cool to see the Argentinosaurus as a lesser featured sauropod in games. Plus, recently I have been growing one on a modded server in Path of Titans, so this guy kind of has a special spot for me recently. I'm going to slap him up here at A tier. Top of it, too. Enjoy the view up there, Argent. Alright, let's keep the ball rolling on these creatures. How about we look at the other interesting sauropods, shall we? Camarasaurus often takes the spot of the tiny sauropod in games, if tiny is even an adjective that we can use for these guys. So I'm not super surprised to see them in Prehistoric Kingdom. Regardless of that, it's always nice to see different sized versions of sauropods represented in games. Camara, though, for me, is just okay. I'm gonna add him down here in B, behind the Triceratops. I'm glad to see him, but I'm not overly wowed by it either. Alright, let's discuss the remaining Ceratopsians in the game, for which, some reason or other, we seem to have a ton of. Styracosaurus, Nasutoceratops, Pachyrhinosaurus, and Protoceratops. Now, I am glad to see the Styracosaurus included, as I think they're always an interesting, awesome Ceratops that is a little bit more flashy than the Triceratops. And I'm also glad to see Pachyrhinosaurus, as I think the nose plate is also a cool alternative to the Triceratops. So I'll drop these two trikes back here at the end of B. But the Protoceratops and the Nasutoceratops, they just interest me a little bit less. There just seems to be too many Ceratopsians in the game, in my opinion. Especially when you're missing creatures like Stegosaurus, Ankylosaurus, and Gallimimus, which are arguably more common and a bit more loved dinosaurs. I will give it that Protoceratops is small, and that's kind of a cool niche for a trike, so I'll put him down here in C, but Nasutoceratops is, I don't know, it's kind of just like a smaller Triceratops. Just kind of boring to me. So Nasuto is dropped down here even further to hang out with the taco in D tier. Now, while we're down here at D tier, let's talk about a creature who has gotten D tier on both my Isle tier list and my Path of Titans tier list, and that's the Dryosaur. I am happy to say, however, that the Dryo is going to get a bit higher rating for me this time, at C tier. Okay, so still not crazy high, but personally Dryo just kind of exists for me, and I'm never really stoked to see one or to play with one, so adding it to my park is gonna be just kind of okay. Not the worst addition, but not really exciting either, so C tier it gets this time. Let's talk about some of the really cool additions to the game now. Back up here at A tier is the Kolodonta. Just like the Mammoth, it's pretty neat to see this ancient rhinoceros added to the game, as more ancient mammals will really continue to make this game feel unique and stand out amongst the rest of the park builders. Plus, I think its model is just one of the better looking that we have overall, so it's just a nice creature to place in the park. I'll definitely be making a sick exhibit with these guys. Next up, we have Acrocanthosaurus, and I know that some of you may absolutely love this guy, as he looks kind of like the mean and kind of awkward older cousin of the T-Rex. But personally, I think it just looks a bit funky in this game. I don't know, something about the model is kind of odd for me. But I guess it may be more accurate to its true fossil record than some of the other games I've seen it in. I'm not too sure. Regardless, it's always cool to see different theropods added in dinosaur games that fill different niches or appearances, and Acro's no different in that right. Solid B tier dino right here for sure. And while we're discussing theropods, let's go ahead and add the last one we have to talk about today. The classic big bad Tyrannosaurus Rex. You just know I gotta put Rexy up here at A tier, as he is easily always going to be fun to have in a park. When I checked out this game in alpha last year, the T-Rex was the creature I tested, and its animations, sounds, and general personality was pretty cool to see, so I'm excited to see how they've improved on it now that the game is in early access. I almost put him up at S tier, but you'll see that everything above this guy is either a personal favorite dinosaur of mine, or a very unique mammal that I think deserves more recognition than this carnivore. So a very solid A tier dino, and we're going to sit him up here just behind the rhino. Next we have Dino Curis, who is always just such a funky looking creature. It's so odd, these guys. Now I do like this creature, but honestly I think its model in this game looks a bit odd. Now, I will say the video that you have been seeing of this game is me running the game in low graphics, and it still seems to have a bit of optimization to work on so that I can raise that up a bit. But regardless, the fur of this giant duck just kind of looks, well, if I'm honest, kind of looks bad. So that lowers the score for me a tad to put him here in B tier. But besides that, I do like this creature. Big Bird here is going to be at the top of the B tier, only behind Triceratops. Respectable place, I'd say. Four more creatures to go, and the next two I want to discuss at the same time. And that is the Iguanodon and the Parasaurolophus. As I mentioned near the start of this tier list, these guys are the generic herbivore dinosaurs that I actually just have a personal fondness for. No real difference than the Edmontosaurus or Lambio, other than that, really. I like how Iguanodon has those aggressive front claws, and of course the Disney Dinosaurs movie helped make it a little bit more famous. And the Para makes what is likely the coolest dinosaur sound out there, so both of these creatures are going to get a high A tier place for me. Both are going to be cool to see in the game roaming around. Should be a good time. Okay, two creatures left, and both of them are S tier for sure. One for probably obvious reasons, but one less so let's start with that one. We have another ancient mammal taking the spot at number 2 here, and that is the Smilodon, which also happens to be one of the most fun names a creature could have. This saber-tooth-like feline is really cool to see, and like I keep saying, I hope they continue to add creatures into this game that are not true dinosaurs. I love some ancient lizards, perhaps maybe some birds, or some even ancient fish if they go that route. I'm gonna have a good time making a really rugged forest exhibit for the Smilodon, and it should be a good time watching it prowl through the foliage. Easily one of the more interesting creatures in this game, and that's why it gets an S tier spot for sure. And last but surely not least, my favorite dinosaur to get the top spot in S tier, the Brachiosaurus. I didn't make my channel icon a Brontosaurus for no reason, as it is easily my favorite dinosaur around. And the Brachiosaurus is very, very similar to the Bronto. So much so that scientists and people in the comment sections are going to continue to argue over the differences until the end of time. But step back a bit and you'll see that both of them are the large and docile stapled sauropod creature that are added to many, many games. And in this one, they're even the loading screen creature, so that's gotta count for something, right? So, Brachiosaurus gets S tier, simply for being one of my all-time favorite dinosaurs. But if I remove that from the ranking equation, then the S tier spots go to the ancient mammals of this game, as those are super unique to see. Sauropods though, well, I just simply like them more. It's as simple as that. Alright everybody, that's going to be it for this tier list here on Prehistoric Kingdom. I hope you enjoyed the episode. If you did, please like the video and drop me a comment down below on what you thought about this tier list. And if you want to see more tier lists upcoming in the next few weeks, subscribe to join the Sauropod squad, as we're going to be rolling these out every Thursday. I would also love to hear your guys' tier list on these creatures in this game, so write those out, tell me what you want up high and what you want down at D tier, and let me know some of the other creatures that you want to see in this game. Like I mentioned, I would love to see some ancient reptiles, like I know we've got the Megalania in Path of Titans. I think that would be pretty cool to see in this game too. But until that time comes, everybody, we're just going to have to wait for it. I have been Jay, I hope you guys all have a good rest of your day, but until next time,